I left off my last article at the beginning, so let's circle back. I'm convinced that we're looking at this AI issue the wrong way. I'm pretty sure that you're being influenced into taking the wrong position in this battle, if you want to call it a battle. Are you an artist? Do you feel a sense of dread and hopelessness caused by the specter of AI art? Are you anti-AI? I'm going to try to convince you that this is the wrong position to take. What these large corporate entities have done to build AI image models is definitely theft. We all know this innately. But if you, for some reason, need an authoritative backing to construct your worldview, see the many class action suits that are in the legal system currently. Here are just a few. Andersen versus Stability AI, Getty Images versus Stability AI, New York Times versus OpenAI, Authors Guild versus OpenAI, Universal Music versus Anthropic. For me, this is the main issue at hand. Whether or not these models produce quote-unquote art is irrelevant to me. Why do I hold this position? Well, it comes from my own perspective on what art is. What I'm going to say, some people may not like, but I don't really care. There are some people, perhaps many people, who have this view of art as some sort of ultimate, undefinable, well, for lack of a better word, I guess, thing, an ineffable thing to be more exact. A thing is a proper word to describe how some people think of art, because thing represents the undefinable. While this is true in a sense, this perspective is too narrow in my personal view, so as to not be too off-putting to those who view art through this ineffable thing lens. I want to first define more clearly what I think it is you're picking up on. We as humans are wholly incapable of fully expressing ourselves to one another, or even to our own selves. This is something that on some level torments all of us. We express ourselves in the physical world in many ways. With these expressions, we attempt to resolve the gaps we perceive in understanding and cohesion between others and ourselves. In my assessment, it is this perspective of art that does in fact make it an ineffable thing. I would argue, however, that it is your consciousness that is the real ineffable thing. Again, don't just take my word for it. If you need a more authoritative source, read the works of Thomas Nagel or Ludwig Wittgenstein. Art is all of our attempts to express this ineffable thing in the material world. Think of a pond or a lake. When you pick up a stone and toss it in, you create ripples. Another observer who perhaps didn't see you throw it in will still be able to see these ripples and discern that a stone was likely thrown into the pond. The ripples create a structure in the water. If we think of ripples akin to an animated drawing or a glyph, we will see that certain aspects of the ripple express the shape, size, and weight of the stone. More than this, certain aspects of you who threw the stone are also reflected in these ripples. Ripples are all similar in form, taking the shape of outwardly moving circles that signal a specific meaning, though the full meaning of these ripples now resides at the bottom of the pond. It is true that the water is artistically expressing the ineffability of the stone. In this metaphor, the medium is the water, and it is ephemeral in nature. With some exceptions, like sand mandalas, we create art that tries to give permanence to our given expression. This is true authenticity, and it adds perceived value to the art. This has been coined psychological existentialism. A 2004 Journal of Experimental Social Psychology study found identical poems and paintings were valued up to 2 times more when the participants believed the significant effort was involved in creating them. So what does this have to do with AI or being anti-AI? Well, AI is essentially just a reflection of us. In some ways, it is just like the pond I described earlier, a pool of data that has been diluted and contains the essences of all our collective works. Philosopher Shannon Valor argues that AI compels humanity to reconsider what makes its mind unique. It functions as an introspective mirror in which, by trying to find artificial consciousness, we refine our own understanding of human consciousness. A well-known truth states, we are our own worst enemy. In the context of AI, this is true. AI is our collective enemy insofar as we are collectively our own worst enemies. That said, to be anti-anything is to express the desire to do away with it. Metaphysically, this means you take a position against it, and you're taking a position against yourself. Obviously, it follows that this is a losing position. Additionally, in terms of metaphysics, we can distill concepts of anti and pro into polarities. So, in taking the anti-position, you're adopting the negative polarity. This polarity is naturally energy draining and likely to affect people who align with it negatively. In Taoism, rigidity is death and flow is life. Fixed position is the posture of the unbending tree that breaks. Creative responsiveness, Wu Wei, endures. In Buddhism, hatred of AI is as binding as love of AI. The middle way transcends the duality of entirety. Or as Jung might put it, what you oppose externally may be what you refuse to integrate internally. Anti-AI may be just the artist's shadow projected outwardly. So you're probably thinking now, so what do we do? Well, how about we focus our energies on how we can build and create to solve the problems that we face? We shouldn't be wasting our creative energies on negativity. Instead, we should channel them into prosperity. Yes, these models have been trained on stolen artwork, and there may be very little that we can do about that. We can, however, change the ways that we interact online. We can form alternative networks and create technology to protect our work from exploitation. In fact, it's easier than ever to do this. In the next article, I'll go into specifics on how we can do this. Until then, keep creating the future.